Sure.
I think they got it turned off.
Oh, it's Moogie. That's why it's Moogie out.
There's a good breeze. It's a little muggy, but it's really good breeze.
That sound you hear is Bill breaking up the blinds.
So Josh, are we live now? Is this good?
Yes, sir. You're good to go.
Okay,
All right.
good. So, well, let me lay out, I've sent out some of the pre-reading. Let me lay out what I'd like is the agenda then to talk through. So first is I'd like to get your guys' input on the decision parameters document that I sent. Second, I'd like to get your input on the program document. Third, I thought we should talk about Lisa Wharton's comments. And then fourth, talk about Chris and Don's emails that they sent to us. And just, again, I think it's an evolving thing. So, this is just data gathering and starting to deliberate on some of these things. So if that's okay, those are the four sort of chunks of topics I was planning to go through. Does that work for you guys?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So decision parameters. Was there anything here that you saw? So I'll just jump ahead on one of my things. Based on Lisa's input, and actually Bill sent me an email also, that perhaps we should dial back the dollar amount.
Is that one?
I put in here 50% of the cost up to a maximum of 1,000 per additional parking spot. Maybe we say 50% of the cost up to a maximum of 500 per additional parking spot. And then also cut in half how much is available each year. Instead of 4,000 the first year, we should make that 2,000 the first year. And instead of 8,000 the second year ongoing, make that 4,000. So if we're doing a max of 500, then that would also say there's a max of, who's got the lag there? Somebody's got a
I'm hearing you twice, Rob.
Yeah.
You're repeating yourself.
Yeah. You know me, Bill.
Now
I'm just
this is gonna
trying
take
to
twice
hammer home the
more.
point. Okay, so again, based on Bill's input and based on Lisa's input, I'm thinking maybe we should dial it back the dollar amount some. What do you guys think, Joe, Kelly?
I think we need to look at alternative funding sources. I mean, should we broach this to see if MPF would be interested in any grants at all?
Marcia, I think you mentioned that before.
Yeah.
Well, that is a possibility. What is the lag here?
Gotta love it.
I'm sorry. That's right.
If you
Joe,
have
you're on mute.
You're on mute, Joe.
if you have the link up somewhere else in another tab, or if your volume is up a lot, that could possibly.
It's quite an echo.
I didn't understand a thing he said.
It sounds like the echo is coming from you, Kelly. So have you turn yourself on mute yet?
I will now.
Wow. Okay, it works when I'm not on mute. That's good.
Okay.
Well, it looks like it's working now. We'll see. Maybe it was, I don't know.
Go ahead, say it.
So so other funding sources, you said MPF might be one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we've thrown it out there before. Marcy, correct me if I'm wrong.
Are you still on mute?
I'm not.
No, I can hear her.
Okay.
I'm muted, but I'm muted, but, I'm muted, but,
I think we know who it is. I think we know who it is. I think we know who it
Try
is.
leaving. Can you leave and re-enter?
can I leave and re-enter? Does anybody know?
Josh, can she do that? Josh, can she do that?
Hasn't practiced well. Hasn't practiced well. No.
Well, he's mission control.
I like saying,
Come back.
ground control. I like saying, here she go.
They're probably hearing you.
Marcy, why don't you go ahead and try it? Why don't you go ahead and try it and exit and come back in? Why don't you go ahead and try it? Why don't you go ahead and try it and exit and come back in? Why don't you go ahead and try it? Why don't you go ahead and try it and exit? Why don't you go ahead and try it? Why don't you go ahead and try it and exit?
I'm sorry. I can't do
So try it now. Let's talk now. Let's make
Yeah,
sure.
let's,
Joe,
yeah.
talk now. Let's see if it works okay.
it. I'll talk.
We hear you good.
You're
We hear you
fine,
good. Say
Rob.
something, Joe.
You sound
Okay,
good.
can you hear me?
Yeah, real
Yep,
good.
You're good.
All right.
So it must have been Marcy's connection of some kind.
Yeah.
I think she gave up on us.
Do you have any other suggestions, Kelly, besides MPF?
That was the one that came to mind. Oh, so Marcy says she's left the call, but she can still hear everyone.
Okay. Okay, no, I'm willing to give MPF a try, but I think we also need to be working on the parallel path that if that's not going to happen.
Right.
So. And I think I think we should continue working on this and, explore that as another alternative for funding. I think we'd still want to have these kind of process in place for this though too. So, is there any?
All right, Rob, one thing I'm looking for here is, do we actually have what okay, here it is. $500 cap per additional parking spaces, kind of the village contribution to the project.
Yeah.
And and we know that the one design that I think everybody has looked at that we like is what, $4,000 total cost?
2,000 per pad. It was 4,000 because he built 2 pads there.
No,
You're
is there 2
talking
pads or one?
There are 2 pads there.
There are 2 pads.
Okay, two separate pads
Correct.
with fencing in between.
Correct.
And is the fencing in that $4,000 number?
I don't
or-
know. So one of the things, if you guys would like to join me, I just traded text messages yesterday with Chad. I am meeting with him Monday at 2:00 at right there at the MPF parking lot.
Okay.
Okay. So,
Yeah,
and
so my question, you can just ask this to Chad when you, is it $4,000 for the 2 parking pads and the fencing that was put in, and moving grass and all that rest of that stuff. Was that the total cost of those 2 parking pads?
okay.
Kelly?
The fencing that you're referring to, I walked back, what's the fencing?
It's the black fencing that they put up instead of the old chain link fencing.
It
Yeah, so
runs
it-
parallel to the pad.
Okay,
Right. It kind of surrounds the back lot, the lot behind the townhomes.
okay.
So,
Of just
Which
Chad-
I think when
just
most
Chad's
people
property,
look at
right?
that is probably more aesthetically acceptable than just throwing down the perforated concrete blocks and no fencing and any rest of stuff. So,
Yeah, but I don't think, Joe, we can't sit there and say you got to have fencing too.
but we can reward, what we think is more aesthetically pleasing.
How? Describe to me.
We could give a bigger contribution from the village if they do one versus the other. And I can tell you if you're not too wild about that idea, but that's why we're talking.
Yeah, right. Because it gets back to the subjectivity about things sometimes, so what is the line, where do you cross a line? And again, we're focusing right now on parking pads, and then now we're expanding the scope of the work to say, and if you add fences, because that's not, we haven't talked about fences at all here. Fences are a choice, whether people put a fence or not, right? There's some, so now all of a sudden we're expanding the scope of this stuff a lot, and that gets me, and we're adding aesthetics in there, which always makes me nervous.
Yeah, but I don't want people to believe that it's going to be a product's going to come out like Chad's versus the other product that's on that same alley.
So we can do that. Again, take the fences out, Joe. I really don't want the fences in at all, because that's a sole separate decision. But the pads themselves, we can say it has to have a certain level of, again, we can set the bar on the pads if we want to. So separate the two decisions, pad, fence. Fence is not part of our discussion. Let's just look at the pads and say, this is the kind of pads if you're going to add a parking pad, this is what we'd like to have. So we can do that. That's cool. I'm fine with
No,
that.
wait a minute, Rob, are you saying if we add a parking pad, are you talking, duplicating what Chad has, or can they just put in blacktop or concrete?
Well,
We need to specify that.
right. That's what I'm saying is if we want to specify it, we can. What kind of, if there's a parking pad versus a driveway, if somebody's putting in a driveway, that's a different thing, right?
Well, Chad could have easily just put in blacktop or concrete, but I think to Joe's point, what he did is clearly much more aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that, Bill. So all I'm saying is, first of all, I don't want the fence in the conversation.
All right. Well,
Fence
I'm
has
not
nothing-
saying the fence either per se, but I'm just talking about the differences between types of parking pads.
Mhm. And we
Yeah.
can set that. We can set a bar if we want to in terms of the kind of pads.
Yeah,
That's our
okay.
decision to make.
Yeah, okay.
Can
okay.
I back up just a second?
Sure.
Because it seems like right now we're focusing on,
You're okay.
Chad's property, basically Chestnut in the historical district. So
Yep.
let's put a parameter on it. Are we strictly addressing the historical district now, or are we going outside of it? Or,
Well-
they're kind of two different things.
Well, again, the parameters, the very first parameter that's in there is what part of Mariemont should be included. So I sent that to you guys. I took my first cut. I'm totally open to discussion. Again, I think people react to something better than having a clean sheet of paper. So that's why I just put this stuff down. I am not
Yeah.
married to this. So again, I said boundary would be, and I had this wrong here. North side would be Murray. South side would be the Pike. East side would be Plainville. And then the west side would be either Settle or Belmont. What do you guys think about that?
No, you're okay. It's okay. You're okay.
Well, so basically, yeah. Chestnut, oak, maple, elm.
And that's the places where we've heard that there have been the most issues
Right.
in terms of parking.
Right. So what would you say, like 50% of that's a historical district?
At least.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the historical district stops at Homewood. Homewood's the end of the historical district. Homewood is not in the historical district.
And then
And it goes all the way to Plainville.
Chestnut.
Yeah, oh yeah, again, east-west, it goes,
Chestnut is the southern border of the historical district, and Murray is the northern border.
No, because there are roads south of Chestnut.
yeah.
But is Elm in the historical district? Because
Well,
Elm is the next parallel street to Chestnut.
Well, a couple of the houses that sit at the corner of, say, Elm and Oak.
No,
Oh, like, okay.
it goes to the Pike.
Yeah.
Historic district, because remember this, Bill, the beautiful red house is in the historic district, even though its color is not consistent with that.
Yeah, you mean the cottages.
Yeah, but it goes to the Pike.
Okay.
I remember, Kelly, I can send you another one. So Allison took a map and she marked out for me where the historic
Oh,
district.
yeah, okay. I got it. No
And I
need.
thought
to
I thought I sent that to you before for another
I think
topic.
so.
So,
Yep.
so again, the historic district falls within this. This is a little bit bigger than a historic district. It goes a little further west than the historic district. Because we've also heard complaints from people over on Homewood, Settle, Belmont about off-street parking there. So I thought we might want to include this as one of the areas where if we want to incent people to create more off-street parking on their private property,
I just don't know how anybody on Settle and Homewood's going to accomplish that.
you can make more space in the back, right? You can make a larger parking pad in the back of your yard if you want to.
Okay?
There has been homes on Settle where they widened out the driveway to accomplish that purpose, to get cars off the street.
Mhm.
I can think of one in particular where they widened out the driveway removed a lot of dirt to do it, but it was pretty effective way of about getting an additional parking space off the street. So, but the problem is a little bit, Rob, is trying to figure out all the flavors of this for a diversity of housing units. What you're describing is it's just not the townhomes. It could be some single family homes and all the rest. And it's hard to try to figure out what all those variations might be and try to come up with a rule that covers all those variations right now. So that's where I'm kind of stumbling with this thing at this point. And I do believe that Lisa Wharton made some pretty good points about, should we be taking tax dollars to, basically reward the landlords and allow them to get additional, rent dollars.
Yeah.
And we kind of did that already with the Murray, the Avenue parking pads. But do we want to, go deeper into a problem or not? I don't know. I mean,
the thing for me on this one is Murray Avenue, the residents, the property owners didn't pay anything. That was 100% village funded.
Right.
And this is going to be, hey, we'll split the cost 50-50 and we're going to cap the Mariemont portion at 500 or whatever it is per pad.
And one additional thought about that, trying to encourage aesthetically pleasing modifications to the properties. If we're going to go to outside sources for grant dollars, we'll probably have a better chance of getting those dollars contributed if we can, pitch them on the idea that, the landlords will be, in essence, encouraged or incentivized to do stuff that, people believe are more aesthetically pleasing than other changes. I just, again, when I kind of look at this thing is from a couple standpoints. Number one, I think we still have a little bit of, thinking we need to do on this before we, roll a little bit forward. Sure. And number two, do we think if we were to set aside, I don't know, what's, your recommendation, 4,000 or 8,000 a year?
Half. Again, I would cut everything in half. So again, 500 per pad. So cut everything in half. So it's 2,000 1 year, 4,000 ongoing.
Right. So do we, so at $4,000 and a $500 contribution from the village, do we have 8 properties that are going to, probably do this anytime soon that we're aware of?
Don't know.
So, it seems like we're going through a lot of work right now for something that, we're not really sure if we got a chance of success if we were here 12 months from now.
I would also say it's better than doing nothing and sitting on our hands.
I hear you. I mean, I agree with that too. We're digging through it. We're trying to figure it out, but there's a couple questions here.
Yeah.
Is there a way for us to get a better feel? Here's my thought. If we talk to a landlord and kind of get a feel for them without actually making them a promise of money.
Right. And that's the conversation with Chad on Monday is just that. It's more of a, it's not specific to money. It's just what could we do to try and incent people to, and property owners to create more off-street parking.
And when are you meeting with him? I'm sorry, I missed that part.
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock Monday?
Let me ask about another thought that's kind of rolling around my head on this whole process. I mean, we have always talked for years about we need to try to do something with the historic district. Traditionally landlords have failed to step up about improving properties at a level that everybody believes is acceptable. And so we've talked about, is there ways of forcing them to do that through building codes and all the rest of stuff? One thought that rolls around, because I've heard about this in other areas, and it's probably not the best time to do this, because of the economy, is some sort of improvement association where you levy, an association fee for, in essence, commercial properties in that zone, and use that money to encourage, improvement in that area. I've seen this done numerous locations. They always talked about trying to do it for the streetcar downtown, and they kind of got blasted out of the water because while the people in Over the Rhine wanted the streetcar, they didn't want to have to pay for it. They thought the rest of the county should pay for it.
Yeah, thanks.
So any thoughts on that, about trying to explore that with the landlords? And, I think initially they're going to be negative, but the concept is we're going to create a pool of money and deal with properties that, in essence, aren't being maintained properly, which in essence drags down the value of the rest of the community. the rest of the area.
Where would the money come from, Joe?
An improvement association that you create that specifically covers that area.
So when you say create, who would the members be? Like, almost like an HOA, only with land,
Exactly.
okay.
But the money would come originally from the landowners, the homeowners?
From the landlords.
Landlords,
From the property owner.
property owners, okay.
And you create a pool of money that's used only for improvements in that area. It's called an improvement association.
Well, I mean, is it a forced contribution? Do you have to be part of this? What if landlords don't want to be part of it?
I think they have to vote it to put it in place.
Hmm.
But what I don't know is, do the landlords vote or do the residents vote in that area?
Oh,
Kind of an interesting process.
Yeah, and don't forget, there's kind of a concentration of ownership on some of those properties over there amongst maybe 3 or 4 landlords, who own big swaths of those properties.
Right. Because again, I think the parking pads is just one issue we have over there. We do have an issue with, in essence, proper maintenance of the buildings that are there.
Yeah, I have a whole laundry list of that our consultant that we worked with at MPF, that in her report of just various things that are kind of becoming eyesores and problems. And I can probably share that report with you, or at least that portion of the report.
I agree. I think, Joe, what you're describing doesn't belong in a finance committee. It belongs in Marcy's committee, right? Because it's zoning and planning. And so,
But again, I think this sort of arrangement might provide the dollars for this type of parking pad deal.
it could. I don't disagree with you that. But what you're getting into is not part of this committee's purview, I don't think. So, and that's fine. Again, I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm fine with it. I don't think it's right for us to be, and especially I think if Marcy's already captured some of the problems that are going on there, some of the things that are going downhill a little bit. I think she's, it's right for her in her committee to go ahead.
That's from an MPF that's from my work at MPF.
Right. No, but I'm just saying also, Marcy, again, if we're going to put something like a planning association that's trying to address the bigger issue of the quality of the houses or townhomes, that's not a finance committee topic.
And we may be able to run this in parallel paths where we put that type of process into a different committee and figure out whether we're going to do that, which would provide the dollars for, this parking pad, proposal.
But
I just think right now, as we look at the budget and all the rest of stuff, it's not big dollars, but it is some dollars. And I would hate to commit some dollars, right now until we get a better handle on the bigger picture.
yeah, I see that point.
So, okay, just make sure I understand. It's just fine. So, and I'm cool with that. We can just stop this. And
Just
then
table it?
when you say, wait, when you say bigger picture, then Joe, you mean, again, you want to look at improving the whole district, the aesthetics of the whole district, like the quality of the buildings and all those other kind of things. Is that right?
I don't mind taking a look at that, but when I say big picture, I'm talking about the village budget overall.
Okay, but
Is this a breaker of the village budget at, $4,000 a year? No, but, we're trying to figure out, where all of our dollars are going to come from and how we're going to spend them.
And if we're gonna.
And Rob, let me just say this. You did a tremendous amount of work on this thing so far. And,
cool.
and I understand it, but I'm not comfortable with a couple of aspects of this thing. One being this idea about, subsidizing public or private properties, which I need to get my arms around that or my head around that. But at the same time, I sit back and I look about, do I really want to, run down the path of doing a, $4,000 additional spend out of the village budget right now? And, or do we have the opportunity to raise private funds? But you have to almost ask, those private funds, what would you like us to do on something like this? So, we could come out and say, we really don't care what gets built, but the private funds may care about that.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's cool. That's cool. So again,
And so maybe what we can do is, I have no problem if you want to talk to Chad on Monday. I think that's good input.
Right. I mean, information is free, right?
But I also would probably, if we think there's some potential sources of the dollars, I don't mind talking to them either, and try to figure out if that's doable, because, then we can tell the residents that we're not spending precious tax dollars at this point on this project where we're trying to figure out whether we're going to be able to provide basic services or not.
No, I'm cool. I'm cool with that. So, but again, that's planning and zoning.
And that's okay. I think we can do dual paths.
No, actually what I would propose, and again, I am totally fine with this. This is back burner. This just goes on the back burner then.
Yeah.
And that's cool. I'm good with
I mean,
it.
I think we can look at bigger opportunities on a more widespread basis. With keeping our focus on the parking, but maybe move the parking into the whole parking assessment and take this to a more aesthetic, like to your point, Rob, moving it into zoning, but I think we need to just get more information in general before we assign it to a committee. And I'm happy to do that. I mean, I'll do it without committee
When you say
assignment.
more information, I think we just need to make sure we're all aligned. What kind of information do we think we need to go get? So.
Well, I mean, I'd like to get kind of a feel in an informal way, similar to your conversation with Chad is, I know Dennis Hamilton who owns some properties on Chestnut. I'd be happy to say, have you ever thought about doing anything? What have you thought about doing?
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Okay.
I don't know. I can't read their minds, but it sure doesn't hurt to ask.
I totally agree.
I think
certainly
Kelly,
would never imply that we're going to give them money. Yeah.
right. Kelly, to go to your point, I think you're talking about the true, stakeholders in this process being the landlords. And the more we can get them on board for whatever we're talking about, I think the better chance of success we have. I mean, and quite frankly, I think those conversations we'll hear about whether they're interested in doing these parking pads or not.
Yeah.
And so then we would know what if they all say, yeah, we want to do this right away, then maybe we reconvene and try to figure out how do we help that process.
So I think that's cool. I'm great with that. Do we know who else you said, who else should we talk to then? Bill, you said there's like a group, there's a chunk of people who we could probably talk to and get the majority of the properties.
Well, like I was saying, there's sort of a concentration of ownership, with some of those properties. Because to be honest with you, this was in, I think, Mariann's committee or something a couple of years ago. And we met with a couple of those bigger landlords over there to encourage them to do, on that, just down from where Chad has the parking pads, there's those hideous chain link fences.
Oh,
There were
yeah.
overgrown trees.
Yep.
And we really
still
tried, some of them are still there. We try to encourage them to clear that mess out, and they put some patio concrete pads in back there. It was minimal work, but the point is we had a discussion with these guys and we were trying to get them, to clean up and tidy up. I think like what Joe was saying a minute ago, just do some basic improvements around there would be a first step.
Well, but I think we should float the idea that Joe had too about, do we want to create, would there be any interest in creating this association?
Right.
Yeah.
That maybe they could all be part of that
Yeah.
would help to do that.
And again, I think that starts with a conversation with the landlords. And I know Eileen's got, a nice list and contact numbers and stuff like that. So I'd be happy to get that from her.
Yeah. Here's one of the problems with these landlords, and I'm not going to use this term because I don't know who else is watching this, but I think maybe you know what I'm talking about in terms of the attitude with some of these landlords. Their primary concern is not aesthetics and good
money.
maintenance and so on and so forth. It's money.
Money.
So we sort of ran into that as an issue.
Sure.
But again, like Kelly's saying, talking's free.
Yeah. So that's where I want to head, Bill. I want to head to, so let's get the names. Let's get the names of the property owners.
Okay.
And let's also lay out what are the topics, so we're all consistently asking the same questions and
Right.
gathering the same information.
Right.
And assign who's going to go talk to whom,
Yeah.
So that we have some tangible action steps coming out of this.
Well, originally it was sort of Don and I mean, we talked to them, we were sort of talking to them from the perspective of building code violations. We sort of looked at, look, guys, you do have building code violations here. I mean, some of them were major, but most were minor. And we just tried to get them to, start cleaning
Right.
some of
Have
this,
the-
come into compliance with the minor code violations. And, it's
So I know, I hear you.
not easy.
So, right, but let's plan forward, okay, going forward.
Yeah.
What are the names? So again, we need names. We need the names of the landowners, and then we need a common talk, what are we going to talk about with them?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So again, I'll talk to Chad Kelly, you said Dennis, I'm sorry, what's the last name?
Dennis Hamilton, yeah, he's
Okay.
our landlord for our office as well, so. we're
Okay,
pretty
so
tight.
you'll
We're
talk
pretty
to
tight.
him. How else can we get Bill, can you help us get the names?
Yeah,
of-
I can help you get, I can, yes. Short
Okay.
answer is yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then, so what are the topics then? So once you get those names, we'll assign who will go talk to them. What are the topics that we want to make sure we all hit on when we talk to them? So we want to talk about, do we want to talk about parking just in general then to say,
Yeah,
you know,
let's
Yeah.
say if you had
Uh-huh.
any, what's your thoughts on increasing the parking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
um,
Should we try and get a feel for if they would be interested in doing some kind of association?
yeah, I think we should.
Okay,
I think you also try to solicit ideas from them about, we've had complaints about the conditions of properties in the historic district. What do they think would work to try to address that problem?
right.
Yeah.
I think in the
And
past,
Analyze it, right? And let's say we've had a complaint about your property.
no, but in general, we have had complaints about the
No.
historic district.
Right.
And I think we've gone about it always trying to figure out how can we do something like that, using the building code, in enforcement manner. But I'd like to bring them into it because, Bill, they're worried about dollars,
Mhm.
but part of their dollars are generated from having a good product.
Oh.
And if their good product is next to a bad product, they still get impacted by that.
Right.
So,
Right.
if everybody works together, hopefully the place, gets better and everybody, is rewarded by that.
No, you're
Okay.
right, Joe. And part of what we did also, instead of just going after the code violations, I don't remember this, but if you guys are familiar with that Kirkwood legislation, which allows a building, commissioner or inspector, when one of the rental units change hands over there, the building inspector now by law has got a right to enter the property and do an inspection, for fundamental things like the wiring, the heating, the cooling, that kind of stuff. Whereas prior to that Kirkwood, a lot of these landlords wouldn't even let us come in over there to do a basic inspection on these properties, even though the tenants were complaining.
Well,
So,
isn't it also, correct me if I'm wrong, but when a tenant vacates a property,
yeah,
there's supposed to be an inspection
there's supposed to
done.
be an inspection done. And by law now, the landlord can't stop us from coming in. I mean,
But we're
believe it or
talking
not,
about inside though.
inside, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting off.
I know we're kind of drifting off. I
Yeah.
know.
So let me play back what I've heard so far in terms of the topic. So we want to say, what would they recommend in terms of, we want to address quality of the housing, and we also want to address parking issues. And so we want to engage them on those two things right now at this point. That's the first two questions is, hey, what would you recommend? What would you think would be the best way to try and improve the overall quality of the rental property?
Your curb appeal.
Well,
So the quality of the rental properties, and then secondarily, also, what would you recommend in terms of trying to improve the parking situation over there? And then after getting those two things, then I think we touch base with, well, what do you think about this idea of creating an association amongst the property owners that would pool resources to try and work on some of these things, right? Is that sort of the gist
Yeah.
of what we want to try and talk to them about?
good,
Sounds like-
good
yeah.
outline. Yeah.
Okay. Joe, can you find us any information about these so we can have, some examples to be able to provide them about these associations?
Yeah, I'll try to find something locally. I've dealt with them. I'm actually dealing with one in Texas right now that a commercial property have as part of. But typically, the concept is they have a common purpose. They're paying additional taxes for that common purpose. But you do have to go through votes and, structure and all the rest of the stuff to do it. And again, they were talking about this type of special taxing district, improvement association, whatever you want to call it, for the streetcar. And they thought that, the residents or the building owners over the Rhine should pay an additional amount to have the streetcar because they were benefiting from it.
Right.
And that whole idea just got thrown out the window. Which might address the question, just, how much benefit does that thing bring? So.
Yeah, different topic, Joe. Different
Oh,
topic.
I know.
don't get me going on that thing. Don't get me started.
So okay. so if you can help us with terms of this association thing that would
Okay.
benefit them. Again, I think the whole story that I'm hearing is they contribute to it. And I would assume also that then they would have a say in how it's spent, and it would only be spent in their district, their area, where
Right.
their properties exist. So,
Right.
so if you can help us get some examples of that we could share with them to test their interest in that. But again, I would save that for the third topic. To Joe's point, I would ask their ideas first, and then we could share our idea after we've listened to what their idea is.
Yeah.
I mean, that at the end of the day, they're the ones that have to market their properties to the tenants. So they have a better idea what their tenants are looking for than anything else. And, and maybe the tenants don't care. They just want to live in Mariemont and they don't care what what the housing is like. And if that's the case, that's probably why we've been in this loop for years about, trying to figure out what to do with the historic district.
I'll get the names of the landlords for you.
That would be perfect. So yeah, well, that's what I've got as next step here is Bill to provide those, then we'll assign names, and then we'll start to have this conversation.
Yeah.
But again, Kelly and I have already got one each to go talk to. And then
Okay.
the other follow-up I have is Joe going to get us examples of this association for the property owners that we can use as a basis for the conversation.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Okay,
All
Very
right.
good.
Yeah.
that's fine. Sounds good. Sounds good to me.
Good.
Are you gonna bang the gavel? Okay, so.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, so what do we do with the meeting at 4? Josh,
Josh, I think we're done. If you want to go ahead and cut the meeting.
Yeah, so I'll just throw up the full screen. Since I have to use the same link.
okay,
So I'll just have that title up, and then when you guys are ready to go at 4, just let me know.
okay.
Hey, Kelly, what's the 4 o'clock meeting about?
It's about discussing the Petoskey project. Chris has some additional information on it and just basically finalizing the status, having a report, voting on it and making final decision, putting it to bed. But I think we need to listen to Chris. He's just got a little more information on some of the projects that are involved in it and do.
There's some work that could be done down there
Right, let's-
regarding the catch basins and the gas lines and things like that, the Duke would do some of it. And MSD would do some of it.
Are we off of our other
Are
meeting?
we
Are
off?
we done with our
Are
other
we done
meeting?
or are we on? Can you
We
hear me,
should be
Joe?
done. Josh, you've closed the other meeting down?
I cannot. The stream will stay live.
Okay.
I have to use the same
All
link.
right, I'll catch up later.
Oh, we-
I'll catch up later on Petoskey.
Okay.
Yeah.
I may not be able to get on at 4. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
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 Were we going to talk about him getting the bid for the blacktop on the parking areas?
Who he?
Chris.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Remember I mentioned
Hey, Joe.
Hey,
You're on mute, Kelly.
Off the record, Bill.
There you go.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Testing. Pink Panther?
Yeah, see, you're gonna join, you're gonna have.
Oh, we can do that. My internet connection is unstable.
Okay. You gotta get on that.
Tell me where.
Well, I don't have code for it right now.
So what are you saying I should be on? 5G guest?
No.
I'm here. Isn't that what? Yeah, the first one? Yeah,
You're on.
yeah.
Okay, but see, I think that's the fire department.
Well.
Yeah.
Ah!
Jeez.
Who is that? Oh. Well, I think. Okay, you got the full screen with the ICRC on it?
Yeah, it's finance and public works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So you're good.
Okay.
Well, I mean, unless you want to go full screen. But can
Well,
you see?
Well, it should.
I can see.
There you
I
go.
can see you in the corner.
Yeah, well, when Josh,
It'll pop up in a minute.
yeah.
When it goes live.
ICRC will do that.
You guys just let me know when you're ready.
I think we're waiting on Rob.
Oh.
Rob does know that he's in this, right?
Well, he might not have gotten the meeting number like I didn't.
Well, we were, but you know what? Joe, Rob and I were just on the finance meeting on the same link. So,
You should have it then.
yeah.
Audrey, thanks for letting me tag team onto your meeting next week.
Oh, sure. No problem.
This feels so good.
We're not live yet.
Are we?
We can't even see, we can't even see you when you walk through that door, Amanda.
Hi,
Yes.
Amanda. I like your shirt.
It doesn't really coordinate well,
Rob
though.
says he's waiting to be let in. There he is.
Yep, there he goes.
Got it.
Where are your cupcakes, Amanda?
Cupcakes.
Oh, Amanda made these beautiful cupcakes. They look
Ah.
like bakery. I was trying to find a picture while we're passing the time.
There's those
Okay.
ones she
I
made
think
for
we
her
got-
friend's birthday.
Yeah.
Those were very beautiful.
Talking about cupcakes. Are you in, Chris?
Well,
Amanda, look at-
like this. That was the one in the middle. Maybe there's one actually.
There's the public link and then there's our link. Oh.
Because I'm not a participant.
Oh, shoot. Okay, I need to send Chris the link.
Well, I'm with you.
Yeah, we need to figure out a better process for this because I haven't gotten a single link or single meeting number since we started doing these things sent to me.
Okay. Yeah, we probably do need to figure that. Chris, what email do you want me to use? Gmail?
If you can, the Gmail, yeah.
Sent it.
Hey, Amanda, is there a way to mute my emails, incoming emails? You know how it makes that little noise when they you give info, or is that, are my emails somehow open behind here or something?
Oh, there.
Yeah, yeah, it's something.
Got it. And,
Okay, thanks.
okay, so Chris is trying to join. Wait, let's see. Are you there?
Yeah, there we go.
There you are. Oh, whoa.
One of you is gonna have to go on mute.
Mute, 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 mute.
I know what causes the echo.
What echo? Echo. Echo.
It was,
What?
When it goes to the screen, it'll be on the upper corner of the screen. Hit that.
Good to go? Good to go. Are you? Hiya. We're waiting for Chris to mute.
He's muted, but now he's unmuted. Now he's muted, but you're still echoing for whatever reason, Kelly. I don't know.
Let's see. I am, aren't I?
Yeah. It's
it's
difficult
not
when
me
you're
this time.
Marcy?
It's not me. The reason I was echoing was because I had clicked the link to listen and it was on in the background.
All right, we'll see if Chris turns the volume down, if that helps.
Okay, now try it.
How about now?
That should do it now.
Good?
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay,
Okay, got it.
we'll just, Chris, you,
Yeah, when you want to talk, you'll just take it off.
yeah. Okay,
Hey,
ready?
tell Rob I figured that one out myself.
Rob, you're on mute.
He on YouTube.
So when you're still gonna have the echo, because remember, Bill, I had to go in the other room. When I was in that same room with you and I would turn
Yeah.
on, it would echo. So I had to go into the other room where the Native American stuff is.
Yeah, it was the thing. Yeah, the artifacts room. Well, no one's echoing now, right? We're good, right?
Right, that's because Chris is muted.
No, not only is he muted, he had turned the volume down.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right,
It's a
people.
two-part-
Friday afternoon. let's
Shows
take a-
empty chair.
Good.
Okay, I'm coming back. Go ahead.
Committee meeting. So- I have absolutely no idea whatever's happening.
Here's the story.
Chris has come up with some additional, information from Duke. That we could do this year would give us the opportunity next year when we do start the project to.
Is everybody else hearing Kelly? Because she's cutting out. Is it just
Right,
me?
I'm with you. There's no, Kelly's, I'm having trouble hearing you too. You're freezing up. Your stuff is freezing up.
Yeah.
You guys, the two of you being on there together may be taking up all the bandwidth too. You know, that's one of the other issues that Eli's.
Well, you know what, Chris? Log off and just come over here.
He's probably got a stronger connection. He's got his own hotspot. We're not on the same one. We're not. It's stronger. Turn yours
Well,
down.
let me
let
see,
him
but you
talk.
know what? We got to the last meeting just fine, so let's just, we off the last hour, no problem. So let's just, we know words. So momentarily, Chris will be coming over here to give us his information. Oh,
Well, can you tell us what he's, we couldn't hear what you said before, Kelly. There, she's frozen up again.
Let's see. There's, if I can participate.
Kelly, I think it's your computer.
Yes.
their finance.
Joe, is it not working for you either? Can you hear him, Joe?
I can't hear him. He's froze.
Yep, completely frozen.
I think it's Kelly's computer. It's a piece of junk.
Oh,
She's making gestures. I think we should get back. Okay.
This is public record. I'm sorry, people out there in Zoom land.
Something different if you
Hi.
can hear that.
We have not heard a lot, Bill. It's just, again, Chris is froze. Oh, there's Kelly now, but it's just,
Okay, just give us a minute. Give us a minute.
yep.
And I'll jump on. Happy hours.
You know what's really fun during quarantine?
What's that, Marcy?
When your kitchen sink develops a huge leak.
Leak. Well, we lost our refrigerator. Our refrigerator died on us. We kept trying to save it ourselves, but we couldn't. And so we finally had to get a new refrigerator too.
But you know. You're
No, Kelly, you're still cutting in and out.
getting a new refrigerator though is kind of fun.
I agree.
We got a new refrigerator this year and it was like, it's Christmas morning. I love it how nice and bright and clean and organized.
Yeah, but that was an expected expense for you probably, whereas for us, it was an unexpected expense.
Yeah, like kind of, but yeah.
Well, all four of us are working fine. It's just that, yeah, maybe Chris's computer worked
The
better.
plumber used the analogy because not only was it leaking, but for some reason the mixer wasn't getting hot water. And
on. Okay, Chris is on. Can you all see him?
Yeah, and Kelly, you should shut down because yours is frozen again. You just,
Yeah.
Kelly, shut down.
Bye. Hello.
Okay, you're out. Okay, go.
Oh, good. Now I can look at my emails.
What? Yeah.
No, about Petoskey.
Okay.
Not. I'm Amazon as everybody else.
Go ahead, Chris.
Chris, you have the floor.
Okay. Hope everyone can hear.
Let's confirm.
So,
Shaking their heads.
okay. Bids were opened on the Petoskey Avenue Reconstruction Project. Shoot, now, when was it? Probably back in April 29th, I believe. So we had 8 bidders, which was a record for the village. We've never had that many bidders before. The parent low is Fred A. Neiman Company, $588,000 and change. That's well below the engineer's estimate. So just to everyone know, that bid also includes $200,000 to be done by the Cincinnati Waterworks, to be paid for by the Cincinnati Waterworks for their water main installation. So that brings the Petoskey project in at $394,000 and change. And then we'll have a 75% grant with that with the Ohio Public Works Commission.
Chris, you
So
said
in talking to the
399?
contractor to
Chris, you
decide
said-
how we wanted to do this project, when we wanted to start, he recommended getting at least the underground work done this year and pushing the road work off to next year. That would include the water main work, which would be within this project, but funded by the Cincinnati Waterworks. It would also include some of the storm items, which are funded by us, but it's 75%, 25% with OPWC. And then the Duke Energy gas main has to be lowered for the project as well. And that could all happen this year prior to we getting into the meat of the road work.
Hey, Chris, what was the original estimate from the engineer? What we were thinking
So
this was
my
gonna cost?
recommendation to the committee is to proceed with the project, but we will be stretching it out to do the underground work this year, try to use the least amount of village funds possible, and then majority of the work and village funds will be spent next year.
Hey, Chris, I know one of the things that you'd mentioned to us was the nature of the work that would be done as far as the status of the road over the course of the winter. I think that's kind of key information for folks, if you want to elaborate on that a little bit.
Okay, yeah, correct. So in order to replace the water main and the Duke gas main, the pavement will be cut up. They'll be using trenches, either 2 foot or 4 foot wide. Remove the pavement, put the pipe in the ground, backfill it, and then that'll be a gravel covering so you can drive on the top of it. It won't be asphalt, just gravel. So, but that will allow everyone to use the homes. Now, it will not be good for plowing, so we'll have to make Sherpenberg aware of that it'll be a more difficult surface to plow, but that's not insurmountable in my opinion.
Chris, what was the original
Talk
engineer
about
estimate?
timelines, if we have just an approximate timeline for Duke and Waterworks to do their portion of it this year, if that is the way I think that's a key piece of information in this decision-making.
So the Cincinnati Waterworks items, the water main replacement will take about 4 to 6 weeks. Duke Energy, my estimate is about 4 to 5 weeks. Now, part of that could be done together. We would have to see when Duke Energy bids their work, they would get a separate contractor, and then we'd have to see if we can stage the work at the same time or not. So ideally, that would be great. However, the road is not that wide, so we may have to do one and then the other.
So potentially talking about 10 weeks.
Right, of utility work, yeah.
Okay. And do we have any idea when, if we decide to have them do it this year, when that would start, or are we still at Duke's mercy for scheduling?
We still have to check with Duke on their schedule.
Okay,
So it's possible that we could start the water main first and then Duke could come in and do the gas main. But that's a timing thing that we still have to work out with Duke if we want to pursue the project.
and when do you think we'd need to start by in order to get this done before kind of construction season for this year?
So ideally you'd want to finish, before Thanksgiving. So latest start would probably be mid-September,
Okay,
just to give us some weather room.
okay. And then assuming, hopefully, that we go ahead with our portion of the project next year, this would give us the opportunity to be ready to go,
Yeah.
right?
we
With
would-
our portion of it. All the
Yeah.
prep work by Waterworks and Duke would be already done.
Right. Now, our contract would already be started. We would give the notice to proceed to Neiman because they would do the waterworks first.
Okay.
So technically our contract is already started, but
Right.
it's just our items would not be built until next year.
And what would be our financial obligation to Neiman on the Waterworks? We
Oh, the
would pay
Waterworks?
them and then we would invoice Waterworks back?
Yes,
Okay,
that is
so
my
our
understanding.
Our out-of-pocket would be immediate, basically.
Right. I mean, it's 194,000 for the water main and they would bill us by month. We would pay the contractor and then Waterworks would pay us back. So yeah,
What would the net outlay to the village be? Because this is only a 75-25 deal.
right. So we're once again back to that estimate of the Petoskey project is about $400,000. So the net outlay would be about $300,000.
No, I just meant.
As
for
far
this-
as
for
the
this
water-
initial
For this-
work.
For this initial work.
Yeah.
So,
This would be like, what, 75% of,
well,
oh,
if
no, you said that Waterworks absorbs all of,
all of the 194.
mhm.
However, if we want to do some of our storm work this year, which is also considered underground, that would mean the village would pay about 86,000 this year
This year.
to get that in if we wanted to start that.
And so if we are to do this, that 86,000 would have to be incurred this year as well.
That would make the most sense for construction, because while they're digging up for the pipes,
Yeah.
for the water main, they could
Right.
also put the storm in.
Right.
Can I ask a couple questions?
All right, input? Comments, questions?
Yeah, you got to stop talking. for a
Okay,
second.
wait, no, we gotta unmute.
Oh, hold on, sorry.
Yeah, Avia keeps trying to ask a question. You guys.
I'm like, hello.
Oh,
There we
now
go.
we go. There
Sorry.
we go. Go ahead.
Okay. So 2 questions. What was our initial bid from the engineer, or like, or not bid, but estimate?
691,000.
So 399 now comparative to 691.
No.
Yeah.
So let me give you all the numbers so that we have everything. So $691,966 was the engineer's estimate. And then the project, the low bid, the apparent low bid is $588,867.80.
Okay. Of which about $300,000 will be our responsibility.
Correct.
300, or is it?
Yes, because
And-
194 goes to Waterworks and then 400 is Petoskey, but with the OPWC grant, it drops to 3.
Okay. And we're talking about in 2020, we probably would have around $90,000 we'd have to pay of that 300, and the other 210 or so in 2021.
Right.
Thank you.
And we have confirmed that the grant will stay in place to
Yeah.
the end of 2021, you think?
So,
or may-
well, we have it confirmed. We have at least a 6-month extension on the grant. So that'll take us to July 1st of 21. I don't see us having a problem extending that to the end of the year, but we would have to ask for that. But I think we're pretty certain to get it since we're in unprecedented waters.
Right. Yeah, us and the whole rest of the world.
But if we started with this preliminary work, that starts the contract.
Yeah,
So at that point, we're basically locked in for the grant.
yeah, exactly. We
Well,
started, so.
I guess that's the other thing what we kind of talked about clarifying is, as far as the grant is concerned, say they do say, okay, you have to be June 30th is your new deadline. Do we have to start the project by then? I know we were deciding whether we start it, finish it, intent, all those other factors that enter
Right.
into it,
So the original deadline was to have the money spent by the end of this year.
right?
So now we have the deadline for the money spent to be the middle of next year. So whether that's June 1st or July 30th or whatever, it's somewhere in there. Now, we haven't set an exact date because we've just asked for 6 months of a reprieve.
Right.
So I think as long as we're under construction by January, I think we're fine.
By January of this, of
Of
2021.
21, yeah.
Okay. If we do not do any of this Duke Waterworks stuff this year, what happens next year is that we're at their mercy of schedule for us to start our aspect of it.
Yeah, well, if we don't do anything with it this year, we'd have to basically cancel the bids. We'd have to throw them
Okay.
out. The contractor is not, he will keep his price up until September, say, but not into next year. So
Okay.
if we
But
don't,
if we start the preliminary work, he's good with that bid. We're locked to that bid, right?
right,
Yeah.
right.
So can we afford it?
Well, there's the $3 million question. Right. So here's my concerns is that we go ahead with the Duke work and the Greater Cincinnati Waterworks work. And then next year we find ourselves in a not improved fiscal situation. And we have to talk about backburnering stuff again. Would this be one of the items we would consider backburnering again? And what would the ramifications of that be? Obviously, losing the grant would be one of them.
Possibility. yeah.
Strong
And the
possibility.
people's driveways being messed up and not fixed, right? For that part of the road, the gravel.
You wouldn't start it if you didn't know you're gonna finish it, man. Because you signed the
Right.
contract. You'd be signing the contract with Neiman to do the work, so you don't work.
Right. So we have to be 100% confident we can commit to this 100%.
And Chris, by when do we need to make that decision? So I heard you saying we should probably start, the latest to start would be mid-September. So when do we need to make a decision by in order to, because you said the price is only good until September also, right?
Right. I would suggest, obviously sooner is better than later, but I think by August 1st, we need to know because
Okay.
Neiman's going to have to order material. And I can verify that with him. That's my guess.
Now, when you say by August 1st, you mean to decide whether to do part of the work this year?
Just to do it.
Well, just to do it. To me, if we.
Period, to do a
To do a
period.
period, yeah, because if we start it, I think we're kind of locked in with the contractor that we'll do the underground work this year and we'll push the road work next year.
Uh-huh.
If receipts look good and we have more money, we could accelerate that. But I think we want to leave it stretched out
Right.
to wait and see what the money
See what the money looks like.
situation is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just for clarification, we don't have to make a decision until by August 1 of whether or not we accept the bid?
So I would ask that you let me confirm with the contractor with that,
Sure.
because I have not asked him that question. He would like to get started on this probably late summer, early fall, which is, August, September timeframe.
Yeah, because I think the thing for us, Chris, is the stuff that Kelly was pointing out about the financial situation. We'll have a better read, I think, by then about the income, how negatively impacted has the revenue that we collect, especially from, income tax. Mostly people who work in the village type of thing. So it buying us time to understand how this year's numbers look will help us to feel more confident about saying yes or no about going forward with the contract then.
Okay.
Okay, I just want to clarify some dates. So in order for us to proceed with Duke and Cincinnati Waterworks, we have to give Neiman the go-ahead for the whole project in order to get the waterworks aspect started of it. Okay,
Right.
Duke is more of a timing issue than it is an agreement with Neiman.
Right.
Okay, okay. And you're suggesting that we make that decision to go ahead with Neiman and therefore the waterworks this year by,
Well, my gut says August 1st.
Okay.
I need to confirm that with the contractor because
Okay.
we did not get into that level of detail.
okay. All right,
So I
that
just
would
wanted to
be,
confirm that we
that
could
would be a
stretch it.
good piece of information to have.
Yeah.
So, can we
Can I
get,
ask a quick question here? So Chris, you originally got confirmation of the 6 months extension from, is this Ohio Public Works? Where
Correct.
this grant's coming from? Okay, you got that confirmation, I think back in March, wasn't it? I think we started
Right.
looking at this
Very
right
much.
at the start of the COVID-19 deal. And obviously, as we sit here in mid-May, the impact of this thing is much deeper than anybody even anticipated back in March. Is it possible to get an additional 6 months out of them on that grant deadline? So we got all 2021?
I think so, but I can't speak for them. I mean, you're right. This thing has only
Well, no,
gotten
but does it make sense to reach out to them and ask that question? Can we get another 6 months extension?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's no problem. I can
we
ask
can
that
ask,
question.
yeah, but let's talk about the impact of that on the decision we're trying to make today, as far as, do we go ahead with Duke and Waterworks this year?
Well,
Mhm.
in order to
I don't
ready-
think we're gonna make that decision today.
Well, no, but that's what we're trying to throw around here. No, because I think we get more information from the contractor. But I
Well,
think that's the focus of what we're doing here.
Right. So I think today, yeah, this is really helpful information to get all of us grounded on the same thing. But I think today, again, I don't think there's any decisions being made today. We're identifying what additional data do we need, and Chris needs to check and say to confirm that we have until August 1st with Neiman. Chris is also going to double check just to see if it's possible to get another 6 months extension if we have to. And then we're waiting, council is waiting to see what our financial situation is, how big of an impact has COVID-19 been for us? And then we need to reconvene to, bring that together. So if it's okay to wait till August 1st, then, again, more data is better than less. And so we should probably wait.
Our budget meeting is July 23rd. Is that the date? I got kicked off my computer. You know, Mr. Mayor?
The budget meeting. It's coming up in July 22nd.
Rob's looking.
Yeah, I'm trying.
I'm saying the 23rd.
Yeah, maybe.
You can hear. Here. You can look at it here. Shove that baby down.
Budget meetings, I had it on the 13th.
July 3rd.
July 13th is when I have the council budget.
So that still gives us a couple weeks to reconvene and, yeah.
Well, but you're gonna, we have a council meeting that night, and then you'll have 2 weeks before the next council meeting on the 27th. So, because you're going to need to submit a report and have council agree, go forward.
Right.
So, yeah, it comes together in July. So by, again, this will fit in with a budget meeting, and the very, very last date you could come forward to council with a committee report would be July 27th, assuming that it's okay with Neiman to wait until August 1st to sign.
Right, so that's the key next piece of information. So
Okay.
let's get that. And let's get the answer to that.
Chris, one other thing, if you could put together a schedule that shows what the actual cash flow is going to be on this, assuming that we make the decision to move forward and spend the $90,000 in 2020, you mentioned that we may have to go out of pocket for some of that spend before we collect it back from Waterworks.
Right.
And so, Rob and I are trying to develop some schedules to track cash flow by month, including disbursements. And so those numbers are kind of critical right now if we're going to sign on for some, higher spend in 2020. So if you could do that as part of, your analysis for the next meeting, it would be very, very helpful to understand,
Okay.
not only how it's going to impact 2021's budget, but how it's going to impact 2020's cash flow.
Right, because I think at this point, we were saying we pulled back on the 300. So,
And how much of a lag is there typically, Chris? Like if we're paying for the waterworks work, the water main work up front, and then they reimburse us, how long is it? Like a month lag, or that's just I think that's what Joe's getting into also is.
right.
Yeah, and I'll have to confirm that with Waterworks. I think it would only be a week or two, but it would be good for me to check with their accountants to make sure that's true.
Yeah, and I'm sure the quicker we bill it,
Yeah.
or maybe we can even pre-bill it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, and we've never done this with Waterworks before, so I know they do this with other municipalities, so it'd be great if they gave us the 194 first, and then we just outlaid that, but I don't know how they operate.
But are we finished with this? Because I want to run this parking thing past them, because that could be another consideration.
Oh,
that we should
okay,
consider.
well, let's, okay, so the next step is Chris is gonna get some more information from Neiman as far as a date for them, and also investigate the billing and payment process through Cincinnati Waterworks. Is that what you guys understand?
Yeah, and then the third thing I heard was Chris is also going to just check about the 6 months extension.
Right.
And once he has that data, the data about the lag with Greater Cincinnati Waterworks, we should be able to lay out what's the, again, from a cash flow standpoint.
Right, well, it's all part of the same game, so yeah.
Yep.
So, okay, all right. Bill would like to address a pavement issue while Chris is here. It's not anything to do with Petoskey, but it is the opportunity to get some input from Chris.
As you all know, the Worcester Pike, from Plainville to Fairfax is going to be repaved this coming summer. I don't know the exact date, although I've got Chris checking on me. Part of the paving process, that as they go through the village, they're going to be doing the crossovers, the links between the east and the westbound lanes as you go through the square and down by Starbucks and by West Street. I think we should, and I'm going to have Chris get the bids on this. I believe that we should also do the two parking areas on the east and west side of the square. They're smallish areas. They're in bad shape. And since we're getting all this new blacktopping done, he's going to first ask the contractor that's doing that work to give us a bid, go ahead and do the parking lots. I mean, he's already going to be there with all the equipment and the blacktop and so on and so forth. And I don't know of yet how much it's going to cost. We're getting a price, and then I think we'll probably also get a second bid on this. My point is, I just think in light of all the heavy work that's going to be done down there at the square, this is our time in order to do that.
Right.
If we wait, it's in bad shape now and we do it later, there's a chance we damage the new blacktop.
Right. Just to confirm, Bill, you said they were doing the crossovers?
They are doing crossovers, yes.
That's good.
That is on ODOT, not us.
Awesome. That's good. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think it's definitely worth getting some bids, and then let's talk about it.
Yeah. I mean,
Let's get the data.
Yep. Okay.
I mean, obviously this is going to be, several $1,000s, I would imagine.
Yeah, we're probably between 10 to 20,000.
So, I mean, this may be a factor that factors into whether or not we proceed with the Petoskey project. That's of course part of why I'm mentioning it now.
Right. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that?
No, I think it's good. It makes sense, Bill, to go ahead and get them, let's get the data, data always helps in terms of making decisions. So let's find out what the cost is. And
Okay.
Do we have any idea the time frame of getting that part of the paving done?
I sent an email Wednesday to Eric Young, the inspector, saying I need to schedule so we can notify residents and stuff, and I haven't heard back yet. So
Okay.
my next, I will reach out to the contractor, and he's been looking at the areas. He just needs to give me a price. I might just send it to him.
Yeah.
Say,
Okay.
when do you guys plan on doing this?
Doing it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's getting closer,
Yeah.
obviously.
I mean, a lot of that curb work that you see him doing now, obviously is in part of the preparation work for the repaving.
Okay.
is it possible, I know this is sort of weird. It'd be nice to know, to your point, Bill, how much we're saving by doing it at the same time. Is there a way for them to give us a ballpark estimate that if we did it separately later, how much more it might cost us?
Well, that part of the reason for getting like more than one bid, would be to sort of be able to compare and contrast, whoever the ODOT contractor is, and I don't know for sure who that is.
It's Barrett Paving.
Barrett Paving. I mean, assuming that they're there with all the heavy equipment and everything is there, you would think that'd be the lowest bid.
Yeah.
But maybe it's not, I don't know. That's why I want to get at least one more bid from just an independent guy, as to what would it cost to come in and do it.
Yep. No, I think, and if it is cheaper while they're there to do the work, then that makes it all the easier for us, good reason why.
Right.
Given our cash situation, okay,
Exactly.
if we can save whatever, 10, 20% by doing it now versus waiting, but then it's going to cost us more, that would help. Yeah.
It's going to cost, and aside from the money, I mean, depending on what the dollar difference is, there's the other consideration would be, while you're in the midst of the mess of all the grinding off and the repaving and shutting down the roads, I mean, this is kind of the time to be doing it. If you come back later and you want to do those parking lots, then you've got to go through that.
And you've inconvenienced
You've
again.
inconvenienced a lot of people for a second time. That's all.
When I know you're a Starbucks regular, so we don't want to inconvenience you.
I don't want to be here. Thanks, Rob.
You're a Grader's regular, so.
Hey, I got a sweet tooth. I'll admit to it.
Maybe we catch them on a good day and they'll be like, oh yeah, honey, we got this.
Okay, no, that makes sense. I agree with you, Bill.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure y'all were good with it.
Yep.
All right.
Anybody else have anything? Nope, that's a no from Avia. Joe?
I'm good.
Okay.
Good. Yeah. Okay.
Rob? All set? Marcy?
Okay.
Alrighty.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
See ya.
Have a good weekend. Stay dry.
Stay dry.
Okay.